Hey, Facebook world, we're live. Awesome, guys. Welcome, family, TCI family, all of our faithful followers and friends. As you can see, I'm on the boat. I'm going to make the message short today, guys. Normally I come from the studios, but I was out on the boat doing some work. And as you can see, as you look around, there's a lot of sailboats, there's a lot of boats. And the message is easy to understand. When I was a boy, I remember going to the White House once with my dad, who worked for the president. I remember specifically seeing them discuss a project that he was working on. And I remember the vivid 3 weeks thereafter, they spent literally 20 days out of the next 21 days charting a course, making plans. They spent 1 day executing it, and it was almost flawless. And when I started boating, most of you guys know my story. I've never driven big boats, speedboats. And this is the first big boat I've ever, driven on the ocean. And so when I started, our co-owner, Brian, he's a very, very smart and highly educated in boats. He's got his Coast Guard certifications and all kinds of stuff. So Brian teaches me a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. He teaches me everything about the ocean. And here's what I learned. You guys have heard me talk about charting a course. If you leave New York, Manhattan Island on a ship, and you plot a course for London, England, and you're off, in the process, you get off by just a degree or so. You actually end up hitting France. And you're like, what? Yeah, just a degree or two off on a course, and you will end up so far wrong. When I go and take these expeditions up big mountains, when I have the men, we're charting courses. So you chart the course, you've been up the route, you know the route, so why do you have to chart the course every time? Well, things change, and you have to adjust to change. And so what's interesting is one of the nonprofits that I created and my wife created, it does like $1 million. So it's nothing like woohoo. It just got approved for its first $75 million loan. And it's, I'm saying this to explain, it's a little company that's doing like massive stuff. Now, here's what's interesting. When I built the company by myself in the beginning and then my wife, I had a 5-year plan. I always have a 5-year plan. I have a 5-year plan in my marriage. I have a 5-year plan in my business. I have a 5-year plan in my health. I have a 5-year plan in my finances. I have a 5-year plan in my friendships. I have a 5-year plan for everything because of the lessons I learned as a young man about charting courses. And so the preparation, if you will, when I would talk with Jerry Lucas, one of my dad's friends and his mentor to me, and his son and his daughter and me are still friends to this day, Jerry would always talk about you had to practice like 600 free throws, 600 3-pointers over and over, even though you were practicing for like one shot. Now, that sounds crazy to some people, but that's how you become that great basketball player, the amazing president, or a CEO that's legendary like a Jack Welch, or an investor like a Berkshire Hathaway's wizard from Omaha, right? And so how do you become the Warren Buffetts? It's not complicated. Listen to me when I say this. I can teach you how to making millions of dollars for me. I can do it with my eyes closed. That's why I have all these companies. But how do I make the money? How do you really do it? It's honestly this simple. The 5-year plan on that nonprofit, it's doing just about shy of $1 million. It's got all these loans available to it if they want it. That little firm, I have rewritten its 5-year plan every single 6 months or so. I can't even wait a year to rewrite the next 5-year plan, because every year your 5-year plan gets extended out, right? And so you got to always add on that next year, readjust your goals, readjust your course. Because if you're off by 1 degree, folks, you end up in France, and you're like not even in the country. You're not even in the vicinity. You're across the channel. So that's how important it is for you to understand charting courses are so critical. And just because you charted the course doesn't mean you're on track. You're on course. So you always got to have yourself checking and you're watching, and you have mentors in your life to be that guiding light that lighthouse in the distance, that beacon that tells me when I'm entering the harbor, hey, do you see the green light or do you see that red light? These lights tell me what I'm doing. I know by the light where I'm supposed to be. I don't even have to see. I can just, as long as I see the light and that it blinks, that's all I need to know. Oh, I'm on the right side. We're good. Because you chart a course and then you watch your course and you adjust your course and you bring in expert advice on your course. One of the things that I found to be amazing as I learned how to start this beautiful career of navigating in the ocean is out on the sound here in Washington. As we were driving, I'm looking at the sonar and I'm looking at the radar and I'm watching the screens and I'm looking at the depth finder and all the fish and all the activity that's going on in the ocean. And what I was noticing was our depths. So where the channel that we were consistently supposed to follow, because I have literally a line, like just like in your car with a GPS, you see the blue line, right? And you just follow the line. Well, it's the same thing on these big boats. And so you follow the line or stay pretty close to it. Sometimes you got to get off a little because another boat's coming and it's maybe a short channel and you got to share it. And so I looked around. I was like, man, Brian, look at over here. There's like almost a mile of water. And he says, yeah, but look at the screen. And I look, it's like 2 feet deep. So you might look out in the ocean and say, look at all that way out there, all that space in the ocean. It's not. There's this little sliver that goes down the middle that you have that might be 100 yards wide, maybe 200 yards wide. That's it. The rest of it, you can't even get your boat. And if you tried it with no experience, you would just run your boat aground and be like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. And so that's why you need expert advice in your life so that you can ask people who have been there. So like, as an example, I was like, so Brian, coming up, what happens? And he would tell me, well, my father and my grandfather raised me out here in the Sound. So see this island over here? You can't come around this section during low tide, only during high tide. And I was like, but then why would you even want to come over here? And then he kind of comes around. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. So but how do you learn that? It doesn't say it on the chart. It doesn't show that on a chart. That takes experience from people. And so that's where you got to plug into people like the bishops and the pastors in our organization, people that watch us. This organization is reaching all the way to Ghana, Africa, and Indonesia, the entire U.S., South America. We're changing the world, folks, one person at a time, not just physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, but the whole person. And what's amazing is I want you to hear this. I want you to understand when you look at the scriptures, when you watch people, when they talk about God and our spiritual walk with God, we have a course that's charted. It doesn't matter what faith you're from because they're all the same in this respect. They chart a course, a beginning and an end. And then they adjust to make sure they're on track. What I mean by that is there's ethics and there's things that we have learned through our spiritual walk in life, like murdering people is not cool. Okay. I know I'm talking to a crowd of people that got out of prison and you guys are murderers and there's people who have done, evil things, right? But it doesn't matter what we have done. We have this course now that we are changing our lives and we're plotting a new course. Just because you're plotting the course doesn't mean you're safe. And so I want you to keep your eyes as we're discussing plotting courses in your life. You need to, first off, do you have your 5-year plan? If you answered no, you need to work on that. Once you got your 5-year plan, who do you have? What are your top 3 people? Do you have a pastor in the church that you are connected with or one of the bishops? Do you have a therapist at one of our nonprofits? Do you have a counselor? Do you have anything set up to be the sounding board for you so that you can give advice from people with the moves you're making and your plans in your life? And it's important. If you don't have these, you got to get this. And that's why one of the things we love about our organization is we offer this to all of our members of the church. We offer this to them so that they have full access to our therapists. And if they don't have money, it's at no charge. We pick up the tab. And so we really want our members of this organization to reach out if they don't have those tools available, because in charting your course, that is the only way I can guarantee success. I always get the question asked to me, hey, could you tell me how to make money? Right? Because you 9 out of 10 times, you always hit it. Bam, bam. And I said, yes, it's called planning. They just look at you like you're an idiot. Well, we know about planning. And I'm like, then you don't know. If you say you know about planning, you don't know. Because the guys who actually know about planning and the gals who actually know about charting courses, they keep their mind in a state of like they don't know anything and they just keep learning. So it keeps them green behind the ears. And that's what keeps them as great navigators in the world. And you've got to have that same mindset. So if you're around yourself and you ever hear yourself say, oh, I don't need to worry about planning a course. And I want to give you an example of this as we close. So uh, I was with a friend of mine and we spent many years in sales in the field of sales together. And he worked for me and we've spent a lot of time traveling the globe together. And so one of the things when he heard I have this boat, he says to me, hey, boss, can I come up there? I want to go drive in it. And I said, no. He goes, what do you mean, no? I said, you're not driving the boat. He goes, why not? I said, well, first off, I have a partner in the boat. So I wouldn't even ask him that if you could drive it. He got all hurt. He's like, that's really rude. And I said, do you want to know why? And he says, yes. And I said, okay. Do you remember that boat you had? That boat was, I think, only like 30 feet. So it's 2 feet small, shorter in length than this boat. And he goes, so what's your point? I said, do you remember the day we went out in that boat and you didn't tell anybody to get the poles out so that if you get too close to, as you turn in your boat, if you got too close to another boat, you could push off the dock, push off the boat. You didn't do any of that until you realized, oh crap, man, I'm about to hit that boat. Could you guys grab one of them sticks down there? And I vividly remember, and I was like, dude, why didn't you tell us? We could have got prepared for this. And he's like, oh, I drive this stuff all the time. It's no biggie. That's how he drove his boat. And every time he went out, he hit a dock, he bumped into a boat. And if you watched his lifestyle, his whole life was the same way. Shoot from the hip. Don't go and practice. Don't go and practice. Just shoot from the hip, shoot from the hip, shoot from the hip. And the truth is, if you shoot enough from the hip, you actually can eventually become good, even great. But it's not the best and most accurate, successful way to improve your life spiritually, physically, mentally, in any aspect. So I found it the contrast between my friend and my brother Brian. So Brian, right? He's my co-skipper here. Brian took us out, and he was awesome. So in the back of the boat here, I want you to see this. See that there? So in the back of the boat, there's this area, and he tells me to get over here, and he's got these poles, and you extend it out. So as I'm, he's coming out, the back end of this boat, it doesn't have a bow thruster or a stern thruster, which could allow us to easily control it side to side like the new boats. We are putting one in this year. But as of now, your back end of the boat, okay, your stern, it actually goes like that. So there was the first time we went out, man, he almost hit the back of the boat. The first time I drove it, I not only almost hit the back of the boat, my buoy bumped their buoy. So our buoys touched, which is, they're not buoys, dang it, they're bumpers. Our bumpers touched. And so the difference was Brian was prepared and planned. And in doing so, he had people on the bow and the stern, and we were prepared and everyone knew their position. And we never touched paint with any other boat. No coming in the dock, nothing. Now, is that because Brian is the most amazing captain and skipper? No, even though I think you are, Brian. It's not. It's because he's practiced and practiced and practiced, and he prepares and he plans a course, and he looks at the course and he brings it to me and says, is this the course you like? And I'm like, yeah, is that what you like? Because I'll go with what you like. But no, he seeks all the people's advice around him, even novices like me in the field of sailing, and to see my point of view, maybe just because I might have a different point. And then I remember one time he was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I was like, what? I don't even know what I'm doing. But again, we all have different talents. So I want you to seek that part of your life. Make sure you got your spiritual plan for 5 years. What's your plans? What I mean is, do you have seminars planned? Because if you don't, you need to plan to go to a seminar once a year or a retreat. You need to get out and seek the spiritual realm in yourself. Get away from the city. Come up with us to the mountains. We do retreats all the time. One of the things that's amazing about the mountains and the ocean, we can take and do small groups, 4, 5, 6 people at a time. We can go out to the San Juan Islands, take kayaks, and sleep under the stars on the boat and in the boat, and then explore the sides and do all kinds of fun things like not even speaking for a whole day, no words spoken at all. There's some fun things you can do, but you've got to plan that. And so there's a lot of fun things we're doing. If you'd like to plug into our church more and our organization and our nonprofits and help us, we sure would love to hear from you. God bless. For those that are close to Marysville, we've got a thriving church there at one of the houses we have, the men's home called Jonathan's Refuge. And the men are amazing. And they're the people who are helping change the world, because when people call us with needs, we show up with our men. And these are what real grown men are, men that are willing to value other people and show them that they're here to help for no extra cost to them, just other than I want to be your friend and help. So we love you guys. Make your plans, get your mentors, get out there, adjust your course, make sure you know what you're doing. And if you don't, it's okay. Seek advice. God bless. Love you all.